participants on the call. So I am going to call the VisionServe Alliance annual meeting of the members to order today, Thursday, November the 4th of 2021. I want to take the opportunity to welcome everybody. I know that I'm disappointed that we're not doing this in person. This is our second virtual annual meeting, and really appreciate everybody's time and attendance in participating in today's meeting. There's a lot of information. I hope that you're going to come away from this meeting as excited as I am about the accomplishments that we've had with VisionServe over the last year, and excited about our upcoming year, 2022. It's hard to believe that our last meeting was almost exactly 1 year ago, November 5th of 2020. So, as I said, hopefully our next annual meeting will all be together. And I also wanted to thank everybody. We had to take care of some business that we would normally do in person. We had to do it a little differently this year in terms of electing our new board members. So for all of you who voted and participated in that virtually, thank you very much. And that was the only way that we were really going to be able to get that done this year. So with that, I would like to move on to the agenda item number 2, the minutes of the November 5th, 2020 annual meeting for approval. So Sherry, I'm going to turn it over to you for just a moment.
Thank you, Lauren. And so I believe everyone received a copy of the minutes from the annual meeting of last year. Were there any corrections or edits that anyone had for those minutes? They looked good to me. All right, may I get a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
Make a motion that we accept the minutes as presented.
Okay, second?
I'll second it.
Okay.
Cheryl.
Okay, Cheryl, thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of accepting the minutes, say aye.
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 Minutes passed. Floor is back to you, Lauren.
Thank you. So next item on the agenda is the financial report, including the report for the investments. And Dennis Steiner, I'm going to turn it over to you, Mr. Treasurer.
Thank you, Madam President. You've all received a copy of the financials. We're going to take a look at the profit and loss statement first. And I'm not going to go over this line by line, just going to point out a couple highlights. Big revenue item that was unbudgeted was the big data project. And I'm sure that Lee will talk about that a little bit more as we move on. And if you look across, you can also look at the year-to-date budget, annual budget, and then where we expect to end up with that. So we've got some funds that are pledged that are not in. The other item that is rather significant here is our conference sponsorships. $63,000. Year-to-date budget was $60,000. Now this is a little bit different because there were some money that we needed to give back. So you'll see at the end, our projection is to end the year at $56,500. So some of that conference sponsorship will be used in the upcoming conferences. Beyond that, the rest of our revenue is pretty much in order. So if we'll look at total revenue for the month, $56,000. For the year, $477,000. Our year-to-date budget was $445,000, and the annualized budget was $594,000. So we're actually really doing well from a revenue standpoint. And if we go on down to the expenses, none of these expenses are out of line with the exception of conference expenses because we didn't have a conference. and travel. Travel is significantly lower than budgeted. So what we have at the bottom is a net income year to date of $15,600 for the month, $114,000 for the year. And if you look across, you'll see that we budgeted a slight income, so we're well ahead of that. It looks like we're going to end the year possibly around $52,000 of net income. And I think this is extremely significant given the challenges that VisionServe has had and given the year that we've had. I think back to my first month as treasurer when we were probably $50,000 short. And in a short period of time, a short span of time, Lee and her team, I think, have done an outstanding job in, increasing our revenue along with really managing and controlling our expenses, and have done a great job with that over the last couple of years in difficult times. I think VisionServe is in a much stronger position than it was 2 years ago. And I think that's in large part due to Lee and her team. I want to move on and just take a look at the balance sheet. There's nothing in the balance sheet that is, terribly significant except the investments. So we, like most of us who have money in 401ks or 403bs, it was a pretty good year overall with some ups and downs in the year. But you can see at the bottom, if you go, our net assets have increased 600 total assets this year, 601,000 versus 448. So that's a pretty significant change. And a lot of that has to do with the investments that we've made over the course of the last couple of years. So we're looking at total liability and equities at 601,000 and versus 448 from the previous year. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. And then our total equity is 522,000 versus 419. So very, very strong balance sheet. And again, significant improvement as to where we were 2 years ago. I'd like to thank the Finance Committee for their work over the last 2 years, year and a half. It's a real pleasure to work with, and Lee and her team have done a terrific job. So, Lauren, that really concludes my report. The Finance Committee has reviewed the finances and are looking for approval. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Dennis.
I was going to say, is anybody out there?
Yeah, you know what? I was going to remind everybody that this is your meeting, so please feel free to participate. If you have a question, speak up, or you can raise your hand. I know that Lee and her team are going to be monitoring that. So, Dennis, you're putting forth a motion
To
from the
approve
committee?
financials. I believe
Or
that's what we need to do.
Or we need a motion from the membership to approve the financials? Do we have one? Who was that? Sherry? Motion. Do we have a second?
Bernadette.
Bernadette, thank you. Do we have any further discussion or any questions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you, guys, and thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, Lauren, and
Sure.
thanks to the membership. I appreciate it.
All righty. So next item on the agenda is the introduction of the 2022 VisionServe Alliance Board of Directors. So if you recall, in the last couple of weeks, we sent out electronic ballots to be able to vote on our board members for 2022. And so, Mickey, I'm going to turn it over to you as the Governance Committee Chair for the report.
Thank you, Lauren. And Lauren has thanked you all, but thank you so much for filling out the ballots ahead of time because the board now has officially all been confirmed. What I would like to do first, and we're not in person, so I can't have the people stand up, but if you could maybe, well, raise your hand or say a word, you know, I'm here, so we can hear it as well. We'll try that. I'm not sure it will work, but I'd just like to recognize everyone. What I would like to do, what's really exciting, is we have 4 new board members. And I'm going to go over their names first and welcome them because they're coming on for the first time. So our first new board member is Sharon from World Services for the Blind. I'm not sure if you're on, but if you are, welcome. We're really excited to be working with you over the next years. Second is Reinhardt Mabry from Alpha Point, and Reinhardt, welcome. Reinhardt did serve on the board and with me years ago, so we're thrilled you're on. Diane Nelson, thank you so much. Visually impaired preschool services. We're so happy to have someone representing the 0 to 3 group of kids. I do that in California, and I'm so excited to have another person. And Tammy Owen, and I may mispronounce the name, from Olmsted Center. I know you're in Florida. Welcome, and we're really thrilled to have you on. Their terms will run from January 1, 2022 to December 31st, 2024. And now I will go over the officers whose term starts, it's a second term in January. Lauren Branch will remain our chairperson. Bernadette Kaplan is continuing as vice chair. Dennis Steiner is the treasurer. Sherry Rossler is the secretary. I continue as the immediate past chair and the governance chair. And our great leader, Lee, is continuing as the president and CEO. And Wendy just sent me a little chat. I gave the wrong organization. I'm so sorry. You're at VIA. On the other people that joined with our new members, that starts on January 2022 for 2 years, Courtney Plotner is now serving a second term, and Brian Bashan is now serving a second term after filling in for a board member that left. We have 2 individuals starting their second term, Eric Peacock and Renee. So thank you again for serving, and we're really, I think this is going to be a great dynamic board representing all of you on this that are our members and on the call today and those who are not on the call. So that's it for me, Lauren.
Thank you, Mickey, and thank you again to all of the board members, and welcome to our 4 new board members. I'm excited to be serving with you for the upcoming term, and look forward to all of the great work that we're going to do. So right now, I want to take the opportunity to recognize one of our board members who is leaving and who has done an awful lot during her tenure on the board. Libby Murphy, I know you're on the call. I didn't see your pretty smiling face because your camera wasn't on, but if you turn your camera on, I'd like for people to see you. I wanted to, like I said, take the opportunity to thank you for the great work and your service on the VisionServe Alliance board, and in particular, recognizing you for the heavy lift that you did in getting our public policy initiative going. I know that Lee and her team are extremely appreciative of the work that you've done, and I am too. And really, you've laid a tremendous foundation for VisionServe moving forward in the public policy arena. And we are going to miss you on the board and wish you all of the best in your new venture, and certainly going to miss you as a as an agency CEO. So, Libby, is there anything that you would like to share?
I just want to thank everybody for being among the very best group of people I've ever worked with on a national level. And it was a pleasure to serve on the board. And I hope to continuing to serve this body and serve our field. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Libby. So next on our agenda we are going to allow our board committee chairs to report out on their accomplishments for the last year. And so first up, I am going to ask Courtney Plotner, our committee chair for membership, to give her report. Courtney, I'm turning it over to you.
Sounds good. Hello, I'm Courtney Plotner. I'm the president and CEO of the Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired in South Carolina, and I'm the co-chair of the membership committee with Sharon, one of our new board members. And first, I just wanted to thank all of you for your participation and support of VisionServe, especially during such a trying year. I know that you've all had within your own organization. So thank you so much. Membership is the economic engine and the lifeblood of our organization. Without you, there's not an organization. So thank you again. We currently have 132 organizational members. We had 20 new members join this calendar year, with 4 of them being in the third quarter. We have had 10 members drop this year, but we are hopeful that some of them will return, and some of the reasons given were due to the pandemic and funding. We have a total of 19 associate individual members. 3 of them were new this year, and we have 3 associate organizational members. So we're still growing, and we have some lofty goals for growth in the future. So I'll say this now and again at the end: if you know anybody who you think would be a good fit for VisionServe or who could benefit from VisionServe, please connect them to Wendy and let her tell them all the wonderful things that they can get from the organization. As part of that, we started a wagon wheel project or committee to help welcome new members. We don't have conferences obviously right now, or we haven't been having in-person conferences. And so we really wanted to make sure new members were introduced to people, connections were made. We were helping people feel connected and part of the group, and explaining to the new members what membership means to us and what membership can do for them. So our goal is to partner 2 old members with each new member, and to have these be longer relationships than our conference mentors were, and have it be more of a peer-to-peer relationship than a mentor relationship. And of course, when we have conferences, we'll make sure that new attendees are oriented and introduced, but hopefully in more of a peer-to-peer fashion. And we need more volunteers. We had 3 new members recently join, and we need to pair them with some new people. So if you are interested in volunteering, you have a little bit of time to give to connect to some new friends in our field, just reach out to Sharon or I, and we have people waiting for you. Along the lines of that engagement, we have also started an initiative called CRAPE, which is Community Regional Engagement and Professional Empowerment. And it's a new initiative with very exciting possibilities. It's a way for us to still engage both online and together in person, since there is a real possibility that we'll only be doing 1 large conference a year. This is a way that regionally we can still get together, communicate, share ideas. The purpose of CRAPE is to engage and empower existing members, recruit new members, create new volunteer opportunities, offer more leadership opportunities, and of course to foster board recruitment. So we're in the early stages of developing CRAPE. That's one of our quarterly goals this quarter. So if you have any ideas, or if you'd like to help, again, please reach out to Sharon or I. We would love to hear what you have to say, and could use any volunteers on this project that are interested in giving some more time. And lastly, we're working on a member data project. As a little bit of background or history, as y'all will mostly remember, VisionServe used to compile an annual financial ranking report. And when this was evaluated, it was found that it's pretty difficult to do. And also the information that we were getting from it was not exactly helpful and useful for all of the organizations. And so VisionServe is working with a consultant to put together a much more comprehensive and useful survey called the Membership Data Project. So starting in 2022, we will ask members to report annually on the services they're providing and other data points to help us have a better idea of what's going on in our field and be able to see the big picture of the impact that VisionServe agencies are having. So our goal is to gather information from our members that can be useful, including how many people are served each year, the types of services, how the number and types of programs offered by your organization compare to other organizations with similar size staff and budgets, where the revenue and funding sources are coming from in the field. And so it's all information that we can all use as a group. And we will really be counting on you to submit your data at the onset of this program and then to update it annually so we can all use this information to see who we're all serving. We can use it in our own individual grants, and we're talking to our own funders, and also when we're recruiting for VisionServe. So thank y'all again for all of your help and support this year. And again, if you know anybody who you think could benefit from VisionServe, please connect them to Wendy. Thank you. That's all, Lauren.
Thank you, Courtney. And I just want to mention or say welcome to all of our new members. I see some new faces. I know that we've had a number of new members join during COVID and haven't had the opportunity to get together in person. And I can assure you that we want to make you feel welcome. We want to add value to you and to your agency. And so, so please, I mean, if you have any suggestions, if you have any concerns, if you need to connect, feel free to reach out to the team, to Lee and her team, or to the board members, Courtney. I love the Wagon Wheel project, and I've really enjoyed myself reaching out to a couple of the new members. And so for those of you who are existing or long-term members, take the opportunity to contact Courtney and help us reach out to the new members who are joining VisionServe. So now it is time for the conference report. So Sherry, I am going to turn it over to you for your report and discussion.
All right, thanks, Lauren. And I also want to thank all of my fellow committee members and Wendy for all the work this past year to work on conferences, and then unfortunately have to not have conferences. But it's been a great group. We've all worked together, and we've grown to about 9 members right now, and just a great group of ideas and a lot of expertise as we move forward. We were all sad that we couldn't hold our CEO summit in Albuquerque, but we're very excited for our upcoming executive leadership conference, and that's going to be in Tampa, Florida, in person, April 2nd through the 6th. And so we're excited to be getting some of those plans underway. I think Wendy recently did a site visit. And as we mentioned earlier, the theme for this upcoming conference is the power of leading together. And we've been able to get our keynote speakers, Mary Pat Knight and Chan Hellman, to agree to move to this conference, which is great. So we'll be able to have that continuity. And I think most of you hopefully have seen, I think Ben put it out last week, there's a call for proposals. It's due November 19th. And so if there's a number of different topics that have been proposed, from reimagining the workplace in 2022, models for providing vision rehab services, addressing ableism, and a whole host of other topics. So if you're interested in being one of our presenters, we would love for you to submit a proposal. So that's my pitch for that. We also are going to have a number of wonderful sponsorship opportunities. It's something the committee has really been looking at. And so again, if your organization or one of your vendors might want to be a sponsor, by all means, please talk to Wendy and Lee, and they'll give you all the marketing info you need. And then we also are going to have special CEO time at this conference. Because we couldn't gather before, we want to be sure that we can have some time. So there will be some CEO only sessions and social time on Monday at the conference in Tampa. So we will have more information coming out on that, so that there'll be some networking opportunities just for the CEOs to gather. And Courtney mentioned it, this will be our one conference in 2022. And part of that is there have been a lot of challenges and expenses due to trying to planning, contracting, getting out of contracts because of COVID. So, but it's also creating some wonderful opportunities to look at new ways that we can serve members and grow our membership. So it's kind of a both and between our two committees. And as Courtney mentioned, the new CRAPE effort to get some regional gatherings, really excited about what that might hold and ways to bring in maybe some new people. We're also looking at gatherings based on areas. So it could be preschool and children's education. It could be aging. It could be any number of different areas where we can gather and share expertise in those specific fields of service. So again, we welcome other ideas around that. We'll be continuing to kind of noodle that as we go forward. I also want to say that as we prepare for the conference in Tampa, there is a COVID safety subcommittee that's part of the conference committee. And a survey has recently gone out, and we are seeking your input on what will create an atmosphere and environment where folks can feel as safe as possible to attend the conference in person. So I really encourage you, please complete that survey. It will provide really helpful information for us to plan and make sure that as many folks as possible will come in person to the conference in Tampa. And then finally, I'm just going to make a pitch and say this is an extremely vibrant and fun committee. So we have some new board members. So if you're looking at a way to hook in, join us. It's a fun committee, and let Wendy Hines know if you want to sit in on one of our meetings. So Leah, if I left anything out, please jump in.
No, you haven't left anything out. You did a wonderful job, other than you didn't leave this out, but I'll just put in another word. This is going to be an awesome conference. It's going to be so much fun. Wendy and I are going to be there next week, checking out all the venues and really putting together lots of great networking opportunities, social opportunities, and we're going to have some terrific learning sessions too. Just want to clarify that while there will be exclusive opportunities to CEOs on Monday, there are also opportunities for everybody else. So the whole conference is for everyone. We're just going to carve out some sessions for CEOs to have to themselves as well. And so since we're a little ahead of schedule, could I just ask everybody to either give us a thumbs up or type something in chat as to how you're feeling about attending the conference the first week in April? You can use your, you can do it on there, or you can use the reactions. Thumbs up, type something in chat. There we go. Now we're talking. Get some indication. The people I've spoken with, the members I've spoken with, sound pretty excited about it, but these are still funky times. So we'd like to know and hope that everybody is pretty excited about it. Thanks.
Back to you, Madam President.
Thank you. So Lee, in as far as like gauging this group, there was also a survey that went out, right?
There is. Thank you for mentioning that. Yes.
Couple of days. So please, everybody, take the opportunity to fill out the conference surveys. We really are trying to gauge people's interests. I mean, we really need this information for us to most effectively plan what we're going to do in April. And I'm just going to tell you that I'm in the come hell or high water group. So, just so you know. So
Lauren, I just want to address one thing. There was a comment about any virtual or hybrid. So I believe we will be recording some of the presentations at the conference, and those will be available. We haven't worked out all those details. So we understand that not everyone is ready or able to travel. And so we will make some components of this conference available to those who aren't able to join us in Tampa.
That's correct.
Yeah,
but it won't be live streamed. I mean,
No.
it's not going to be a hybrid conference. It's just,
Right.
We're just going to have the content available afterwards.
Correct.
Okay.
I just wanted to add, Tampa is open and Florida's open and numbers are dropping and our sporting events are sold out, concerts are sold out. So come on down.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. We're looking forward to it. And thank you, Sherry. I know that yours has been one of the committees that just has had a lot of push and pull, and thank you for being flexible and accommodating and changing on the fly. So we appreciate all the work that you and your conference committee has done. So Bernadette, I'm going to turn it over to you now for the public policy report.
Great, thanks, Lauren. First, I'd like to thank all the members of the committee for participation, and a special thank you to Libby. Lauren honored her earlier, but Libby really was the person that got this committee moving along. So I've just really been able to follow in her footsteps there, and probably not doing as good a job, but we're moving along as a committee. Couple of things that we started out working on was creating a value statement for VisionServe related to public policy. As you know, oftentimes Lee and her staff are approached to sign on to various organization causes and whatever. And we wanted to have something to base our decision of signing on. And I guess the overall goal is that if we were to take action, that no member organization would be hurt by that signing on. So we clearly would look for that. So the core actionable values that we created were consumerism, professionalism, educational opportunity, employment, choice, independence, equity, and collaboration. And we had a statement for each of those. And then we developed a sheet for Lee and her team. If we are approached about signing on, what would be the steps to sign on? So we think that that would be helpful in the future. I mean, VisionServe, as we take our place in the field, I think more and more people see us as a really important partner. So they want us to be joining in. So that was one reason why we worked on that as a committee. Some of the other things that have been going on in the public policy area would be the Aging and Vision Loss National Coalition. As you know, a while ago, I think when we were in Atlanta, this was discussed and Lee jumped right in and felt that this was important for VisionServe to become involved with the Aging Coalition. And they've been working really hard on meeting quite frequently to gather data. And there's a data and research committee where they're looking at bibliography information, different questions that they were putting out there, webinars, and certainly how to access quality services in this area as with the committee. There was a policy and funding committee to be able to determine what approach or structure for assistive technology, transportation, and some of the chronic disease and Medicaid waiver information. A consumer advocacy project, and really exciting, a leadership academy project, where there were modules being developed that would be able to help people understand better about vision loss and affecting the older population. So that was a huge undertaking, that particular project. The next that the committee worked on was what's called the Teddy Joy's Law. And this is something that, again, will strengthen some of the existing blindness services. There were different components to the Teddy Joy's Law, and Mark Reichert has taken pen to paper to draft an outline, and we still need to flesh this out in more detailed information. But some of the things that were in there in the subsections were strengthening existing older blind services. And this would look at the state plans, what services should be prioritized, and once again, the technology area. And this would include coordination and promotion of the National Aging and Vision Loss Program services. And again, that the Office of Aging and Vision Loss would be established. There would be an established office within the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and that this would report directly to the HHS secretary. So again, strengthening and making known the needs of the older blind, and pilot projects would go along with that. Also recognizing and serving older Americans with vision loss and how that would come about. Some of the federal program enhancements that were talked about were home and community-based services, chronic care and vision loss, Medicaid coverage and vision rehabilitation services, and also targeting technologies for older individuals with vision loss. That this was felt also to be important under the Teddy Joyce law. So as I mentioned, a lot of this is just an outline, and we'll need to work more on the details of that particular law. We as a group have been following the Cogswell-Macy Act. As you know, this has been presented to the Congress over several years. This time around, the CEASD, the Council for Executives of American Schools for the Deaf, the Deaf Blind Coalition, and the Vision Field have joined together to try to better promote the Cogswell-Macy Act. All three groups are part of the Cogswell-Macy Act. If you don't know about the Cogswell-Macy Act, it was set up, I would say in the late 90s, really for the vision field, and then the hearing impaired field joined in, and then the deafblind group. I have to say that the people in the Deafblind Coalition have been really active members of this and promoting the Cogswell-Macy Act. Some of the things in there that are being looked at would be the child count. Some of you that have children in your programs, you know, through IDEA, there are 13 categories that children are counted in. And we know more and more children that are blind, deaf, and deafblind have additional disabilities. So they're not counted typically in blind, deaf, so they're counted under multi-disabled, or they may be counted under intellectual impairment. So their sensory impairments lost. So this is something we have really been advocating for, that there could be a different way of looking at that, and that they can only be counted once. You can't have a duplicate count. We did have a meeting, the Cogswell-Macy Act group, with Kathy Neese in the department, and it was quite successful. She understood the needs of the children in the programs. She understood the needs of professional development for sensory impaired children. And we also talked about developing and upgrading the guidelines that have been around since the 90s for deafness and deaf blindness. And there have been no actual written guidelines for deaf blindness. So that's something that the Cogswell-Macy group will continue to work on. One thing that we're excited about is last year we had 25 co-sponsors. Right now we have 46. So those numbers seem to continue to grow. And the VisionServe Alliance Public Policy Committee follows this activity. We're not, I attend this Cogswell-Macy Act group that meets every month and report back to the VisionServe policy group. Also, we've been involved with the national policy collaboration in trying to bring together other agencies and focusing on employment, voting accessibility, the Congressional Vision Caucus. And this group has been meeting over a period of time. And our goal now is to try to meet in person and try to find a time when that can occur so that we can have greater participation from all of those groups. We've also been involved with the ITEM Coalition, and Brian will tell you a little bit more about that as we move along there. But those are some of the high points that we've been trying to work on. And I also thank Ben. He assists us with gathering the agenda, and Brian also as the co-chair in trying to get this together. So Brian or Lee, if there's other things that I forgot to mention, maybe you want to share that.
Well, Brian, would you like to go first? Brian Patchett?
Oh, go ahead, Lee.
Okay. Well, I want to thank everybody. It's been a tremendous lift and we've come a long way, and just remind the members that this is in response to the mandate VisionServe was given at our conference in 2019. We still have a lot of work to do. This is not an easy lift, but I feel good about the foundation that we've laid. And we'll mention that we as a committee and the folks involved in the leadership of this, Brian, Patchett and Bernadette and Libby has helped, and Mark Riker, we want to have a session on public policy during our spring conference. And that will be for chief executives and their public policy staff. So if you have someone at your organization that's working in public policy, we'd really like to have all of you together, and we're still developing that agenda. But we want to get a sense of, from our members, what are the hot buttons, what are the things that we care most about, and what is the best use of VisionServe Alliance's resources in public policy. We said initially we weren't going to try to do everything. We were going to look at the things that weren't already being led elsewhere and how we could support what was going on. So please look forward to that and plan on participating. Brian?
I don't know that I have much to add, but yes, absolutely. We look forward to having everybody in that session. And I'm just really amazed, again, thanking everybody that's been part of this, Libby and Bernadette, and certainly Lee, Mark. There's a lot of good people on this committee, and we're always looking for more people to join us on the committee. I think that when it comes to public policy and who we are as VisionServe Alliance, it's just a very critical part of who we are, because we want to have significant change and in the world of services for people with visual disabilities, and working on issues that are critical that can help those of us with visual disabilities become more independent, more successful, and the organizations that we work with to become more successful. So I just said that I appreciate everybody's participation on this and look forward to a wonderful conference. I am coming to Florida no matter what. So
Great. Thank you, Brian. We posted, as you were speaking, Bernadette, copies of the draft of the Teddy Joy Law, of the core values, and some other things. But if anybody wants to have a discussion about any of these or get more information, please just reach out to me. I'm happy to share that with you. There's plenty of room on the Policy and Funding Committee to continue working on that Teddy Joy's Law draft. Mark Reichert expects to have that draft completed by the end of this calendar year, but we'll be massaging it for some time thereafter. And I have to say, it's so important, this legislation. And while we all understand that none of these kinds of things happen overnight, it's a super important first step to really making a big difference and correcting some wrongs that are in place right now for services available to the single largest population segment of our mutual constituents. We've just got to do something about it. And I'm really excited about the direction that this has taken. Bernadette mentioned the Aging and Vision Loss Leadership Academy. We have an informational session discussion about that coming up on November 10th at 4 p.m. We've sent out information about it. I'm going to ask Ben to send out another reminder. And if there's anybody on your staff involved in serving people or interested in serving people, older adults, please ask them to attend that so they can learn more about that academy. And then finally, I just want to make a big shout out about the big data project. We've launched phase 1 to all of you members who are participating in that. We have 8 states that stepped up to be the first. The very first was Pennsylvania. So it's perfect that you're still on the screen, Brian, because the great state of Pennsylvania was first to say, yes, we want to do this and make their contributions, along with California, Florida, Missouri, Illinois, Oklahoma, Louisiana, and New York. And then we also have several national organizations who are sponsoring this phase 1, and they include AFB, so thank you very much, Kirk, APH, thank you, Craig, and AER, thank you, Mark. So phase 1 is off and running. We have already run the first set of data, and the Advisory Committee has been meeting diligently every week, and we expect to have the first set of reports by mid-January. And then we will continue working to further this project for the rest of the country. So exciting stuff. That's all for me.
I'll just end up by saying that this was a priority, as Lee mentioned, in Atlanta, and just the amount of activity that's happened since that time is really exciting. And I think that VisionServe Alliance has really spurred interest in a lot of these other agencies coming along, and we are really facilitating movement. So just so that you know that it was really part of our discussion. And as Lee said, there's so much to be done. So we welcome anyone who's interested in this to get involved. And really, we need to think about future. This is so important to VisionServe. How can we continue to grow in this particular area? Is something we would talk about in the future. But just so you know, there's great excitement, and I hope you'll join in with us. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you, Bernadette, and thank you, Brian. This committee's done a tremendous amount of work. It's an extremely heavy lift. It certainly has been a priority, and I appreciate the work that VisionServe, the Public Policy Committee, and Lee, you and your team have done in terms of collaboration in the field. I think for a long time we've, talked about how great it would be if we had a collective voice that was pushing a national agenda forward. And so I think we're really laying the foundation for that. So public policy is so important. As Bernadette said, if you're interested in joining the committee, the more the merrier. I mean, the more voices we have, the more effective we're going to be. Okay, Brian Bashan, you are up to talk about the Ideal Committee.
Thank you, Lauren. It's been a great year. When we established this goal at VisionServe, and thank you, Lee, for your leadership here. 12 members stepped up and joined and have been active in this committee. And part of what we want to do is have a couple of tracks of things. The bottom line is that we know we need to do better as a field in diversity, equity, and inclusion in all metrics. So how does any organization do that? Well, we first need to measure, the old adage that you can't improve what you don't measure. We want to establish a baseline of how we're doing as a field. This is not about any individual agency or any identifiable organization, but we want to be able to say on many axes, how are the governing boards of directors, senior leadership, CEO, executive director, how are we doing in terms of gender, on disability, on blindness and low vision, on the axes of race, ethnicity, and all of the things that are really of concern to any organization that wants to look like the community that it serves. The idea here is that we're going to develop a baseline of how we're doing as a field and reproduce this year after year, so we'll be able to celebrate achievement, progress, all of that. So one subcommittee of the Ideal Committee, the Metrics Committee, spent many meetings developing about 12 key questions that'll be given to every organization. And then the question is how to deploy these things so we get a scientifically valid response. If we ask for a voluntary response to an emailed questionnaire, we know we'll get a low turnout. And it was Lee's really very practical idea to tie this to a survey that has already a very high response rate, which is the compensation and benefits survey. So we'll know at the same time with a good amount of confidence how we're doing, because this will be required rather than a voluntary or optional activity. We're looking to do this early next year, and we hope to have some data. Let's hope we can have some data for our conference in April. If we do have data at that point, I think it's going to be extremely interesting and provoke a lot of conversations that will then drive what we would like to do and maybe some programming. And speaking of programming, those are some of the other subcommittees. We want to establish a place where we can put best practices. That may involve literature, non-discrimination clauses, all manner of ways that agencies can take some ground on DEI. So that's one thing. We're thinking about pipelines and ways to perhaps look for leadership pipelines within our organization as well. And we're looking at programming during this and upcoming conferences, looking for speakers who are excellent at helping organizations understand how to move from A to B and to do it gracefully and effectively. So those are the main objectives of Ideal Committee. It's been a really a delight to work with many people who are on this committee out of their passion of sense of social justice. So that's my report, Lauren.
Thank you, Brian. Lee, did you have anything that you wanted to add to that as well?
No, I think we're on the right track, and Brian's right. We have a great committee. Everybody who's on this committee has a passion for and a lot of knowledge about this subject. Oh, well, maybe one other thing. I'll just remind everybody what IDEAL stands for. And it stands for inclusion, diversity, equity, accessibility, and leadership. You know, what is a leadership that we all need to take to further and enhance all of those factors? And accessibility is a big part of this too. I think we can all acknowledge that accessibility or inaccessibility, the lack of accessibility in a lot of programs, particularly CRMs and the big programs that we use corporately, have been and continue to be barriers to breaking through those ceilings. So we'd love to talk some more about that too. But I think there's a lot of great momentum. And next year, there will be some more specifics and resources. We're here to help. I mean, that's what VisionServe Alliance does, is how can we assist, push the envelope, but also provide resources that will help organizations move forward in this area. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. And
Yep.
and I really just want to tell you how much I appreciate your passion for this issue and what you bring to the table. I mean, I think that you've really pushed us. You know, we've talked about this a lot, but I appreciate your continued push to make sure that this happens. It's been a long time coming for our field, and so appreciate your hard work and the work of your committee as well, and Lee, you as well, in terms of VisionServe's commitment to all of these initiatives. Okay, Erica, PTAC Fund Development Report.
All right. So I am on my phone right now. Hopefully that doesn't create any issues for you all. You can see and hear me. I'm having camera problems on my regular computer. So I will not be able to see you if you raise your hand or anything. Just stop me at any point. Just call out if you have a question. So as I said, I'm Erica Ptak. For those of you who don't know me, I am from Pittsburgh, Blind and Vision Rehab, and I was asked to chair the Fund Development Committee, I don't know, probably 3-4 years ago, I think. It's been a while. And when I was approached with that task, it was kind of explained to me in 2 ways. The first one being obviously fundraising. And so we're trying to grow VisionServe Alliance's fundraising. But the second arm of it was specifically fund development. And what that meant was basically finding innovative ways that the organization could bring in revenue, you know, not depending on our traditional revenue streams of membership dues and a little bit of fundraising. And so that has been quite a task. But I will say, I think in general, we've seen huge gains in both areas. You know, our fundraising has definitely increased, and I think we have some innovative things that we're doing. So I'll talk a little bit more about that. In this past year, some of the committee's accomplishments, you all know that we conducted a summer fundraising campaign, and $12,854 was raised through that campaign. So thank you to all who contributed and gave. This is a relatively new thing. I think this was only the second year that we did a summer campaign, and it's been very successful for us and helped VisionServe to bring in some revenue in those months. For those of you who didn't get a chance to give, I will just use this as a plug to say, you know, December's right around the corner. We'd love to have your gifts that go in prior to the end of the calendar year, and then you can claim them on your taxes. So please be thinking about us as you make your year-end gifts. I know that, you know, VisionServe Alliance is very important to me, and I know it's very important to all of you. So anything that you can give to help us grow and continue to do the great things that we're doing is really helpful. So on the other arm, which is the fund development, we are, as you all know and have seen, Lee continues to provide consulting services. And over this past year, that has brought in $57,000. So I think that's very interesting because you know, Dennis mentioned that there was around a $50,000 surplus, or surplus, I'm sorry. So without these services, we would not have been in that kind of a situation. And VisionServe Alliance has had a goal to be financially self-sustainable for quite some time. So those consulting services really have become core to our financial stability and are doing exactly what they were designed to do. And I'll talk a little bit more about the second piece of what they were designed to do later. But from a financial perspective, that's really helping us. The big data project has been mentioned, but I think what was not mentioned is that there was $97,000 raised already through the states to be able to fund that project. So that is a very big accomplishment, I think, over the last year. And then last but not least, you know, we've all just had to kind of stop and redo a lot of what our planning over the last year and a half was. But planning a virtual conference and still getting registrants and sponsors, I think, is a really big deal. And for our virtual conference that we had 330 registrants. So that's huge. It's really tough to get registrants for virtual conferences, right? We're all kind of, you know, we've done a lot of them, but we're really proud of that. And we're also really proud of the $63,500 in sponsorship dollars that were raised. So Dennis mentioned in his talk that the goal was $60,000. So to exceed that in a year where everything was kind of up in the air, I think is really good and a really big deal. The other thing that I would say, being on this committee now for 4 years, I know when I started 4 years ago, we weren't bringing in $60,000 of sponsorship dollars. So that's a thanks to the committee. Also a big thanks to Lee and Wendy and just all the people that are trying to be innovative about who we are approaching for sponsorship dollars for our conferences. So those are some of our accomplishments over the last year. But the other thing that we want to talk about is, you know, how are we looking to the future? And again, our goal as Fund Development Committee is really to be looking for those opportunities that allow us to be financially self-sustainable into the future. So we are continuing to explore different types of innovative sponsorship opportunities, you know, looking at sponsors that we maybe haven't considered before, maybe sponsors outside the field that may be interested in accessing our group of CEOs, or you know, looking at just different ideas that we had before. That's going to continue to always be a goal. And I think at every meeting that we have, that's one of the things that we talk about. Hey, does anybody have any ideas, you know, about who we could approach for sponsorship? So that's going to continue to be key. One of the other things that we're looking to do, and actually we're planning to do in New Mexico, so, you know, there may be an opportunity like this in Tampa, but is to add on some type of a special fundraising experience at the conferences. So something really neat that you wouldn't necessarily be able to do without this experience. And, you know, it's something that people pay to do. So, you know, it might be, I don't know, it might have been a private hot air balloon ride in New Mexico or something like that, where a portion of the proceeds from it go back to VisionServe Alliance. And, you know, you get to do this neat activity and something that you might not get to do otherwise. So stay tuned. We'll continue to see opportunities like that as we move forward into our upcoming conferences. And last but not least, I know there's been some information that's gone out about this, but I really want to stress it and emphasize that there are actually 2 new and one just kind of a little bit different consulting options that are available now to all of our members. And I mentioned earlier the financial ramifications for doing consulting, but you know, the second piece of that and why we felt that it was so important for VisionServe Alliance is because, you know, our mission is really strengthening our leaders and our organizations. And a really good way to do that is to be able to provide these type of consulting options to leadership and to strengthen our organizations. So many of you have heard Lee talk about the EOS system, which is the system that we were utilizing prior. They had gone through some changes, and so we transitioned over to the System and Soul consulting group. And it's very similar to the EOS, but there are some differences. It is a much more intensive, kind of longer term, more expensive, but much more intensive kind of a program for you and your leadership team. Now, this year, we've been able to add, or Lee has been able to add 2 other consulting options that are different and also are varying levels of time and energy that you would be putting in. So I think it really is allowing us to offer something for everyone. There was an email that went out with much more detail than I've given about those 3 different opportunities. Please go back and look at that. If you feel like your team could use some leadership training, if there's some struggles within your organization, if you as a leader would really just like to grow and strengthen and learn some things about yourself, I think these are all really neat opportunities to do that. And again, we have now a much bigger range of costs and time constraints and things like that. So those are some things to look forward in the future. As all the other committees, we're always looking for people that are willing to ask people for money and have some innovative ideas as to how we can bring in more of it. So feel free to contact me or Wendy if you're interested. And again, please don't forget us as you're making your year-end gifts.
Thank you, Erica. And I'll just point out that Ben posted a link in the chat to our list of all the consulting services. They, as Erica mentioned, they include System and Soul, which is an operating system and, you know, perpetual strategic planning. So it's pretty awesome. It covers a host of things. And also the Leadership Challenge and also Colby. So I'm now certified as a facilitator in all 3 of those things. And Ben has also posted a link to my Calendly if you want to make an appointment to talk to me about any of those things. So thank you very much.
She does
Yes.
custom services as well. So if you have needs beyond those,
Yeah, absolutely.
talk to us.
Yeah. You know, board training or facilitating special board retreats, staff meetings. So there's a lot of different things I'd be happy to talk to you about. So I hope you'll think about considering me if you're looking for a consultant to provide any of these kinds of services to your organization. Think about hiring VisionServe Alliance because it supports the membership. It supports the association as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Erica, and thank you, Lee. Erica has done a yeoman's job at upping the game in our fundraising and development efforts. Erica, I just have to say you're fearless. You know, not everybody raises their hand willingly when you start talking about fundraising and asking people for money. So, so thank you and your committee for stepping up and doing that willingly and enthusiastically as well. Man, we've covered a lot of ground already. And so now it's time to turn it over to our CEO for your report. And we've covered a lot of issues. So I'm looking forward to see what we still have left.
Not a whole lot. Thank you, Lauren. Except for maybe the most important thing, and that is the journey that I started when I stepped into this position was really to strengthen VisionServe Alliance as a leadership collective, shift our brand a little bit. I have been a longtime fan of VisionServe Alliance before I started working for it, a 20-year member, and I still credit so much of what I know, what I believe, what I am passionate about because of my involvement with VisionServe Alliance. So if you're new to VisionServe Alliance, I hope you give us a chance. It's hard to really feel the value until you spend some time together with your fellow leaders. And these last 2 years have been incredibly difficult in that regard. I'm still very proud of the work that we've been able to do, and pretty amazed at the wonderful relationships that have come out of our online work, but really looking forward to be able to come together again in person. So in that journey to shift the value proposition of VisionServe Alliance, me and the board members, other staff members, what's most important is hearing from you. What do you value? What do you need? What makes this membership of value to you? Sharing that with your leadership team. How can we strengthen the leadership of your whole organization? How can we help you? That doesn't mean that we're necessarily better or more knowledgeable than you, but everybody needs help in this, right? And especially as a chief executive, it can be very lonely there. We don't want you to feel lonely. We want you to feel excited and come and find a way to be refreshed and continue your journey, because we need you. We need you to be strong leaders and continue to grow for our mutual constituents' sake. So over the next coming year, I hope that we will get back to one of the first plans that we put together was to grow VisionServe Alliance financially for one reason, to hire more staff so we can get more done, right? And we had to pull back on some of those plans, just like many of you did in these last 2 years with the pandemic. It did force us to look at things a little bit differently. Still proud of what we got done, but we were not able to grow the infrastructure of VisionServe. It's my goal that when I retire in a few years, I'm not announcing anything, but sooner or later I am going to do that. And I want it to be self-sufficient, that somebody else can come in here and continue moving forward our leadership collective. It's as those of you who run a very small organization with only a few staff, it's incredibly difficult as the chief executive to have to worry about administrative issues while you're trying to think strategically and raise money and sell. And it's like, well, I'm trying to compartmentalize that a little bit and add a few more people to the staff this year. So I think you will see that. I'm very optimistic about this year, being able to bring in more revenue so we can add more staff, so we can do more for the membership. We're not raising money to put it in the bank and say, look what we did. We're doing it to be able to provide more, to do more, to be of greater service to our field. So I want to thank all of you for your membership dues, for your donations, and for your contributions of time and talent. So many of you serve in voluntary capacity for VisionServe Alliance. Thank you. Thank you for doing that for the field, and most especially the work that you do every day. God bless you. I thank you for that. We need you to be happy about it, to find that well of renewal and continue the wonderful work that you're doing. Thank you.
Is that your report?
That's my report.
Okay. So we are running a little bit early. Does anybody have any comments, questions?
Yeah, let's open it up for some discussion. We want to hear from you all.
We do want to hear from you, and we have time.
Don't be shy. What else would you like to see VisionServe Alliance take on in the coming year? Are we missing anything?
Well, if there aren't any questions, then I really just want to thank everybody for taking time this afternoon. We are a membership organization, and we're only as strong as our members and your willingness to step up and participate in the efforts of VisionServe. And so I really do thank everybody for their time, for their talent, for their commitment to ensuring that VisionServe is a strong organization. And I know that we're going to become stronger. I can't say enough. It is such a pleasure for me to serve as the chair of the VisionServe Alliance board, to be able to work with my colleagues in this capacity, and truly an honor, Lee, to be able to work with you as the CEO of VisionServe. I mean, you've provided a focus and direction to the organization, and I'm really looking forward to 2022 and all of the great things that are going to come about. And I'm really looking forward for all of us to get together in the spring of 2022. As I mentioned at the beginning, I'm in the hell or high water camp. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there regardless, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing all of you in Florida come spring. And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn the membership meeting.